Today, we push the limits of Super Mario 3D World modding by seeing how fast you can make these ant enemies called ant troopers, and we look at how they behave at very high speeds. Here's what ant troopers look like at regular speed, and even if we speed them up to just double speed, they're going a lot faster and you can see fewer of them on the screen at a time. At 4 times normal speed, the first ant comes flying out of the gate, and it's already at the green star before the second ant even comes out. These ants must be smelling some sweets at a nearby picnic to be in a rush like that. At 8 times normal speed, you can see the ants move along the straight parts of the path really quickly, and then they slow down as they make the turns and zoom along again. They're so fast that the first ant almost disappears before the second ant comes out. At 16 times normal speed, I was impressed with how quickly the ants were flying along, and I burst out laughing when I saw what happened over at the final wall. The ant is just too fast to make it over the wall, so it keeps falling back down and trying again. And then, as you wait here, more and more ants start to appear, and they all start to pile up like this, and you see all these ants trying to climb up this wall. You might be wondering how many ants you can pile up here, and if the ants will keep piling up until the game crashes. Perhaps surprisingly, the game won't crash, and that's because of a really clever addition by the game's developers. These ants come from an object called a crawler big generator, which generates crawlers, which is the name for the ant troopers in the game's files. This crawler big generator object determines the speed of these ant troopers, what the wait time is between spawning them, and also the maximum number of ants that it can have spawned at a time. This specific ant trooper generator is set to have a maximum of 12 big ant troopers by default in the game, so every once in a while, you'll see that one of the ants poofs into nothing, and a moment later, the next ant appears, so there are never more than 12 ants at a time from this ant generator. By modding the game, you can increase this maximum limit for the number of ant troopers that will come out of a generator, and this is what it looks like when this is set to have 24 ants at a maximum. However, if you set this value higher to something like 50 ants, then the game will crash when you load the level because it doesn't want it to be possible to generate so many of these enemies. It's honestly amazing how many measures were put into place in this game to make sure that it doesn't crash. And this reminds me of my video where I talk about why snow doesn't crash Super Mario 64. At 32 times normal speed, we have a similar problem. The ants zoom by very quickly, and they can't make it over the last wall, and then they just stand there, menacingly. They don't even try to keep climbing up the wall after they fall. They fail just once, and then they give up. These ants should really read Atomic Habits by James Clear and question the systems that they have in place for making progress towards their goals, or they might never make it over this wall. And at 64 times normal speed, what happens? You see the ants zoom by, zoom by, zoom by, and it actually makes it across the top. You see, with hard work and determination and intentional high-quality practice, you can overcome these obstacles. The ants finally made it over the wall. They did it. When I was first recording this, I laughed out loud and I cheered when I saw this happen. I'm so glad that the ants took my advice and read the book Atomic Habits. If we double the speed again and we go up to 128 times normal speed, the ants are still able to make it over the walls, and they're even faster, of course. I tried to jump on one of them, and they even zoom through Mario and damage him. That's how quickly they're moving. But at 256 times normal speed, here's what happens. The ants are again not able to make it over the wall. They're too fast to make it over the wall. I feel like there's some lesson about Aristotle's golden mean to realize here. These ants need to learn that haste makes waste. Trying to rush through like this doesn't give them a chance to climb up the final wall because they just run horizontally into the wall and then they keep walking horizontally into the wall instead of trying to climb up it. At 512 times normal speed, there's still the same problem. At 1024 times normal speed, the ants run straight off the first platform to the wall, and then they just drop down like a cartoon character who ran into a pole and slides down in pain. At 2048 times normal speed, I was thinking that the speed value was too high for the ants to appear because I wasn't seeing them coming out. And then I saw it. The ants are being launched out of that corner like they are a cannonball being shot out of a cannon. They appear on the back wall, they turn to start climbing, and they fly away somewhere up high. These ants have ascended beyond World 4-1. They would rather be in the cloud bonus stages. You know what they say, dream big and aim for the stars. These ants took that saying very literally as they set their eyes and their path on the sky. At 4,096 times normal speed, the same thing happens with these ants flying away, and once their speed is 8,192 times normal speed, you can see the ants spawning in this little corner here, but once they start running, they don't damage you because they move so quickly past you that they don't even hit you, and you can't see where they run to. It just looks like the ants aren't even coming out. It looks like they just disappear. That is how fast they're moving. You can see that the ants are appearing, and I turn my camera before they start moving, and they must be so fast that they just clip past this wall that was an obstacle. And let's be honest, if you got 8,000 times better at something, your obstacles when you first started aren't still going to look like obstacles to you, are they? You can also make these ants pretty slow. Here are ants that are moving at 10% of normal speed, and the ants that are higher up are going at normal speed for a comparison. I was curious to see if the ants would move backwards if you gave them a negative speed, and yes, this happens. They walk backwards off of the platform, and then they just keep backing up into the corner. It's like they're really afraid of Mario and they're trying to run away and back away from him. If you thought Mario was the only one who could do hyperspeed backwards long jumps, think again, because we could give those negative values to these ants. It's too bad that these ants can't move backwards that quickly without modding the game. You might be wondering what happens if one ant is faster than another ant and it catches up to it. Will they collide with each other? Perhaps surprisingly, they actually just walk right through each other without any issues if one of the ants is moving more quickly than the other and it passes by it. And this might not be too surprising, but the little ants aren't necessarily bound to the path that they're walking on. If their speed is set high enough, these ants have a speed of 10 and 20 here, they'll run off their platform and run along whatever is in their path when they reach the ground again. And this gives me some really cool ideas for something that you could use in a mod of this game. Imagine if you had to use these ant troopers like an elevator to climb up part of a level. I think that would be awesome. It's funny that over here in this level, you could only get up to a certain height because of the invisible ceiling that's here, and after that, you collide with the ant troopers and you take damage. And these aren't the only enemies that you can adjust the speed values for. You might remember from my video where we created a Super Mario 3D World level using YouTube comments that someone suggested to have a couch from the Boo's level that was slowed down. The speed value for this couch can be adjusted, and you can have a very slow moving couch, or you can have a faster moving couch if you'd prefer that. And there are also Fuzzies, which are an enemy that are bound to follow a certain path, and you can set the path that they follow, and you can also adjust the speed that these enemies move at too. Both of these ideas could be used in some really creative ways for designing a custom level of Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. If you're interested in more videos about testing what is possible in games, you might enjoy some of my other videos, where we do things like seeing how fast you can make dash panels, or seeing if you could fire Mario through a wall, seeing how collision works, or testing what happens if you add items and enemies to the world map. I hope you got some value out of watching this video, and I'm really grateful that people are enjoying the content that I am creating. Hoping that you all have a very fantastic day ahead of you, and take care, everybody.